Ambassador Kira Voss had traveled across 1,000 star systems in her career. She had seen wonders that would take a lifetime to describe, but nothing prepared her for the moment her ship lost power and began falling toward an unknown world. The alarms screamed around her as she fought with the controls. Her vessel, a sleek, diplomatic cruiser from the Volanthe fleet, spun wildly through the darkness. She had been investigating strange energy readings in what the Galactic Dominion called the Quarantine Rim. This region of space was supposed to be dead, empty, a graveyard of failed civilizations. That the Dominion had quarantined 3,000 years ago, yet something had pulled her ship off course. Something powerful. Kira managed to send a distress signal before her ship crashed into a dense forest on a planet that should not have existed. The impact threw her forward, and everything went black. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in her ship. She lay on a soft bed in a room filled with warm light. Medical equipment hummed quietly nearby. The technology looked advanced, perhaps even more advanced than what she knew from Dominion worlds. This was impossible. The quarantine rim was supposed to be empty. A door slid open, and a figure walked in. Kira's breath caught in her throat. The being before her stood tall with soft brown skin, dark hair, and kind eyes. She recognized the species from ancient records she had studied as a young diplomat. Records that described a primitive people who had been exiled to this very region of space. Humans. They were supposed to be extinct. The human smiled gently. He wore a simple uniform with a captain's insignia on his shoulder. His voice was calm and warm when he spoke. "You're safe now, Ambassador? My name is Captain Marcus Cole. Your ship crashed about 12 hours ago. We pulled you from the wreckage and brought you here for medical treatment." Kira sat up slowly, her mind racing with questions. This is impossible. Humans were exiled 3,000 years ago. The Dominion records say your species died out within a century. Marcus pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down. His expression remained friendly, showing no anger at her words. The Dominion records say many things, Ambassador. Most of them are lies. We didn't die. We survived. And we weren't alone. He gestured toward a window. Kira stood on shaking legs and walked toward it. What she saw made her gasp. Outside stretched a magnificent city. Towers of glass and steel reached toward a purple sky. Ships of various designs flew between buildings. And walking through the streets below were beings of dozens of different species. Some she recognized from Dominion records as extinct. Others she had never seen before. "Welcome to New Geneva," Marcus said, joining her at the window. "The capital of the Hidden Council." Kira turned to face him. The Hidden Council. What is that? Marcus took a deep breath before answering. When the Dominion exiled humanity to this region of space, they expected us to die. We were considered too primitive, too aggressive, too dangerous to exist among the civilized species of the galaxy. But we didn't die. We struggled. We suffered, but we survived. He pointed toward the diverse crowds below. And as we explored this forgotten region of space, we discovered something the Dominion never expected. We weren't the only species they had thrown away. Dozens of civilizations had been exiled here over thousands of years. Species deemed too weak, too strange, or too threatening to Dominion power. Kira felt her heart beating faster. This went against everything she had been taught. The Dominion protects the galaxy. They maintain peace and order. Marcus did not argue with her. He simply nodded. That is what they teach. But out here we learned a different truth. The Dominion maintains power by eliminating anyone who might challenge them. They exile species they fear and erase them from history. They tell the galaxy these species went extinct naturally. He led her away from the window and through the medical facility. As they walked, Kira saw humans working alongside beings with scales, feathers, and crystalline skin. Everyone moved with purpose, but there was no tension, no conflict. They worked together like a family. When we found other exiled species, Marcus continued, we had a choice. We could fight them for resources. We could become the aggressive monsters the Dominion claimed we were. Or we could do something different. They entered a large hall, where holographic displays showed star maps and trading routes. The region that Kira had believed to be dead was actually alive with activity. "We chose cooperation," Marcus said. "We shared our knowledge with species who had been alone for centuries. They shared their knowledge with us. Together, we built something the Dominion never imagined possible. A society based on equality and mutual aid. A hidden council where every species has a voice, regardless of how powerful they are." Kira struggled to process everything she was hearing. Her entire understanding of galactic history was crumbling. "Why are you telling me this?" "I'm a Dominion diplomat. I could report everything I've seen." Marcus looked at her with an expression she did not expect. It was not suspicion or a threat. It was hope. "Because we believe in giving people a chance to see the truth," he said. "The Dominion threw us away because they feared what we might become. But we became something better than they ever imagined. We became builders, healers, and friends to those who had no one else." A soft alarm began to sound throughout the facility. Marcus checked a device on his wrist, and his expression grew serious. "Ambassador, we have a problem. Your distress signal was detected. Dominion scouts are heading toward this sector. They'll arrive within 2 days." Kira felt cold fear wash through her. If the Dominion discovered this place, they would destroy it. They would wipe out the humans and every other species living here. She had seen what happened to civilizations that challenged Dominion authority. Marcus watched her carefully. "You have a choice to make, Ambassador. You can wait for your people to rescue you and tell them everything you've seen. Or you can help us protect the home we've built for the forgotten and the exiled." Kira looked out at the city one more time. She thought about the children she had seen playing in the streets below. She thought about the cooperation and kindness she had witnessed in just a few hours. And she thought about the lies she had believed her entire life. For the first time, Kira questioned everything she thought she knew. The Dominion was coming, and she had to decide who she really was. The mobile station called Prometheus was unlike anything Kira had ever seen. It was a massive structure that moved through space like a living creature, carrying the heart of the hidden council from system to system. Marcus had explained that keeping the council mobile made it harder for the Dominion to find them. Now, Kira stood in the center of the council chamber, surrounded by representatives from 47 different species. Some were tall and covered in shimmering scales. Others were small, with multiple arms. A few existed as clouds of glowing particles. And at the center of the curved table sat 3 humans, including a woman with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. Her name was Elena Vasquez, and she was the human representative to the Hidden Council. "Ambassador Voss," Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "You have seen our world. You know, our secret. The question before this council is simple. What do we do with you?" Kira felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon her. Some looked at her with curiosity, others with fear, a few with barely hidden anger. She understood their feelings. Her species, the Valanthi, had been part of the Dominion for thousands of years. Her people had helped enforce the exile of humanity. "I did not ask to crash in your space," Kira said, keeping her voice steady. "But I am grateful for the kindness your people showed me. Captain Cole saved my life when he could have let me die." A being made of living crystal spoke up, its voice like wind chimes. "Kindness does not guarantee safety. If she returns to the Dominion, she will reveal our location. Everything we have built will be destroyed." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Kira felt her heart sink. She could not blame them for their fear. Marcus stepped forward from where he had been standing near the wall. "May I speak, Council?" Elena nodded. "You rescued the ambassador. Your voice is welcome here." Marcus walked to stand beside Kira. His presence was somehow comforting. Even though they had known each other for less than 2 days. 3,000 years ago, Marcus began. Humanity was exiled to this region of space. The Dominion told the galaxy that we were monsters, violent, dangerous, unworthy of existence among civilized beings. He paused, looking around the chamber at the diverse faces watching him. "When we arrived here, we found others who had been thrown away. The crystalline singers exiled because their communication methods were considered too strange. The Thornborn abandoned because they looked frightening to other species. The Mistwalkers forgotten because they did not value material wealth. Kira listened as Marcus named species after species. Each had a story of rejection. Each had been deemed unworthy by the Dominion and left to die. We could have become what the Dominion said we were, Marcus continued. We could have fought and conquered and proven them right about humanity, but we made a different choice. We decided that our pain would not define us. Our exile would not break us. He turned to look at Kira directly. We chose to help. We chose to build. We chose to believe that even our enemies could become our friends if given the chance. Elena Vasquez stood from her seat and walked around the table. She approached Kira with slow, measured steps. Ambassador, I want to tell you something about how humans think. When the Dominion threw us away, we lost everything. Our homes, our technology, our place in the galaxy. We had every reason to become bitter and angry. She stopped in front of Kira, and her eyes were warm despite the serious moment. But we realized something important. The Dominion threw away what they considered broken, what they considered worthless. So we gathered all the broken pieces together, and we built something beautiful from them. Elena gestured around the chamber. This council exists because humans refused to let hatred win. We helped species who had been alone for centuries. We shared what little we had, and in return they shared with us. Together, we created technology the Dominion cannot match. Not through war, but through cooperation. Kira felt tears forming in her eyes. She had been taught her entire life that the Dominion was just and good. She had believed that the exiled species were dangerous failures who deserved their fate. But everything she was seeing proved those beliefs wrong. Why would you trust me? Kira asked. My people helped exile yours. My government lied to the galaxy about your existence. Marcus answered her question. Because trust has to start somewhere. Because we believe that people can choose to be better. And because we saw how you looked at our city yesterday, you didn't look at us with disgust or fear. You looked at us with wonder. Being with flowing tentacles spoke up. The Dominion scouts will arrive in 30 hours. We must decide now what to do. Elena returned to her seat. Ambassador Voss, we will not force you to do anything. If you wish to return to the Dominion, we will provide you with a ship. We ask only that you wait until we have moved the council to safety. Kira looked around the chamber one more time. She saw beings who had every reason to hate her, yet they were offering her freedom. They were showing her mercy she had never been taught to expect. She made her decision. Give me access to a communication system, Kira said. I can send false coordinates to the Dominion fleet. It will buy you several days to relocate. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Then Marcus smiled, and Kira saw relief flood his features. You would do that? Elena asked. If the Dominion discovers your deception, they will brand you a traitor. Kira stood straighter, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. I have believed lies my entire life. I helped maintain a system that threw away innocent beings like garbage. If becoming a traitor means standing for truth, then I accept that name.
Ow!
The council voted. The decision was unanimous. Kira was granted access to communications. Within hours, she had transmitted false coordinates to the approaching Dominion scouts. The fleet changed course, heading toward empty space, while the Prometheus moved to safety. As she watched the stars pass by through a viewport, Marcus joined her. Thank you, he said simply. Kira shook her head. Don't thank me yet. I just declared war on everything I used to believe. I don't know what comes next. Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. What comes next is that we face it together. That's what the Hidden Council does. We don't let anyone stand alone. For the first time since her crash, Kira felt something she had not expected to feel. She felt hope. 3 months had passed since Kira betrayed the Dominion. In that time, she had learned more about the Hidden Council than she ever imagined possible. She had visited 7 different worlds within the Quarantine Rim, each one thriving with life and culture. She had seen humans and exiled species working side by side, building futures together. But today, everything changed again. A small ship arrived at the Prometheus, carrying a single passenger. He was a Kellery, a species known throughout the Dominion for their perfect memories and their role as archivists. His name was Torvish. He had traveled for 6 months, through dangerous space, to reach the hidden council. He came with a warning. Kira sat in a conference room with Marcus, Alina, and several other council leaders. As Torvish spoke, his 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among his kind. I worked in the Central Archives on the Dominion capital world, Torvish explained. My job was to maintain historical records going back 10,000 years. I believed I was preserving truth for future generations. He pressed a button on a device, and holographic images appeared above the table. They showed documents, recordings, and star maps that Kira had never seen before. 3 months ago, I discovered a hidden section of the archives. It was protected by security codes that should not have existed. When I broke through, I found the real history of the Dominion. The images shifted to show a young civilization. On a blue and green planet, humans. Kira recognized them from the records she had studied since arriving at the council. The official records say humanity was exiled because they were violent and primitive. Torvish continued, but the truth is different. Humans were exiled because they asked questions. They challenged Dominion authority. They demanded equal representation for all species, regardless of power. Marcus leaned forward, his expression intense. We knew we were exiled unjustly, but we never had proof. Torvish's 4 eyes met Marcus's too. There is more. The Dominion did not simply exile species they feared. They actively sabotaged them. They introduced diseases, destroyed resources, and manipulated wars between developing civilizations. Any species that might one day challenge Dominion power was eliminated before they could grow strong. Horror filled the room. Kira felt sick to her stomach. She had served the Dominion her entire life. She had believed in their mission of peace and order, but it had all been built on lies and death. Elena's voice was steady despite the terrible revelations. Why'd you bring this to us, Torvish? Why risk your life? Because the Dominion knows something is happening in the quarantine rim, Torvish answered. They detected Ambassador Voss's false transmission. They have realized that someone is hiding here. The High Council has authorized a purge fleet. 200 warships are being assembled as we speak. Silence fell over the room. 200 warships meant total destruction. The Hidden Council had built impressive technology through cooperation, but they had never focused on weapons of war. How long do we have? Marcus asked. Perhaps 2 months before the fleet is ready, Torvish said. But there may be a way to stop them. The evidence I discovered proves the Dominion's crimes. If we can broadcast this truth to every world in the galaxy, it could change everything. People might rise up against the lies. Lena nodded slowly. But we need to retrieve the evidence directly. Your copies could be dismissed as forgeries. We need to access the Central Archives ourselves and broadcast from there. The Central Archives were located on the most heavily protected world in Dominion space. Security systems were everywhere. Detection would mean immediate death. But as Kira looked around the room, she saw something remarkable. She saw determination instead of despair. She saw hope instead of fear. I'll go, Marcus said. I know human infiltration techniques that the Dominion has never encountered. We've been practicing stealth and adaptation for 3,000 years. Kira stood from her seat. I'm coming with you. I know Dominion protocols and security codes. I can get us through doors that would otherwise be impossible to open. Marcus looked at her with concern in his eyes. Kira, if we're caught, they won't just execute us. They'll make examples of us. I know, Kira said simply. But I spent my whole life serving lies. Let me spend what might be my last days serving truth. The mission was approved. Within a week, Kira and Marcus departed on a small, fast ship designed to avoid detection. Torvish provided them with maps of the archive facility and codes that would help them navigate its security. The journey took 3 weeks. During that time, Kira and Marcus talked for hours about their lives, their dreams, and their fears. She learned about his childhood on a struggling colony world and his decision to join the Council's exploration fleet. He learned about her training as a diplomat and the doubts she had carried for years. Without understanding them, one evening, As they approached Dominion space, Marcus shared something that surprised her. "Do you know why humans never sought revenge against the Dominion?" he asked. Kira shook her head. "I've wondered about that. After everything they did to your people, you would have been justified in hatred." Marcus smiled sadly. "Hatred is a chain, Kira. It binds you to the person or thing you hate. We realized that if we spent our existence seeking revenge, we would never be free. We would become exactly what the Dominion accused us of being." He looked out at the stars passing by the viewport. "So we chose to build instead of destroy. We chose to heal instead of wound. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing we could do." They reached the archive world without detection. Using Kira's codes and Marcus's infiltration skills, they entered the central archives during a shift change when security was lightest. The hidden section was exactly where Torvish had described. Kira accessed the files while Marcus kept watch. She downloaded everything onto a secure device, including recordings of Dominion leaders discussing the exile of humanity and the sabotage of countless civilizations. They were almost out when an alarm began to sound. "We've been detected," Marcus said, grabbing her hand. "Run." They sprinted through corridors as guards mobilized behind them. Marcus led her through maintenance tunnels and service passages that were not on any official map. Somehow, against all odds, they reached their ship and launched into space. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Kira looked at the device in her hands. It contained the truth that could change everything behind them. Dominion had confirmed what they feared most. Humanity had not only survived, they were coming back. The Hidden Council faced its darkest hour. The Purge fleet had launched 3 weeks ahead of schedule. 200 Dominion warships were now crossing the void toward the Quarantine Rim. In less than 1 month, they would arrive with orders to destroy everything. Kira stood in the council. Chamber's leaders from all 47 species debated their options. Some wanted to flee deeper into unexplored space. Others wanted to fight, even though they knew they could not win a direct battle. Fear and desperation filled the air. But then Alina Vasquez stood up, and the chamber fell silent. "My friends," she said, her voice carrying the weight of 3,000 years of human survival. "I understand your fear. I share it. But I want to propose something different. Something that goes against every instinct that tells us to hide or fight." She activated a holographic display showing the evidence Kira and Marcus had retrieved from the archives. Recordings of Dominion leaders discussing their crimes. Documents proving the exile and sabotage of innocent species. The truth that had been hidden for millennia. "Our greatest weapon is not a fleet," Alina continued. "It is this. The truth. For thousands of years, the Dominion has maintained power through lies. They told the galaxy that exiled species were dangerous monsters who deserved their fate. They erased entire civilizations from history." She looked around the chamber at the diverse faces watching her. But what happens when the galaxy learns the truth? What happens when billions of beings discover that their government has been murdering innocents for 10,000 years? A Thornborn representative, his bark-like skin rough and scarred, spoke up. "You want to broadcast the evidence?" "On every frequency," Alina confirmed. "To every world that can receive a signal, we show the galaxy what the Dominion really is. We let the people decide if they want to continue supporting a government built on graves." The debate that followed lasted hours. Some argued it was too risky. Others worried that the Dominion would simply claim the evidence was fake. But slowly, one by one, the representatives agreed. If they were going to die, they would die telling the truth. Kira worked alongside human engineers to prepare the broadcast. The signal would need to be powerful enough to reach across the galaxy, cutting through Dominion jammers and reaching every world simultaneously. It was a technical challenge that would have been impossible for any single species, but the Hidden Council was not a single species. It was 47 civilizations working together. Each contributed their knowledge. The Crystalline Singers provided communication technology that could not be blocked. The Mistwalkers offered energy systems of incredible efficiency. Human engineers designed the broadcast array itself in 2 weeks. They had built something the Dominion had never imagined, a truth beacon that would light up the entire galaxy. While the technical work continued, Kira made a decision that broke her heart. She found Marcus in an observation deck, watching ships prepare for the confrontation ahead. "I need to go back," she told him. Marcus turned to face her, confusion and concern in his eyes. "Go back where?" "To Dominion space. To my people." She took a deep breath. "The broadcast will reach them, but they need a voice. Someone they recognize. Someone who can tell them what she saw with her own eyes." Marcus was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "You know what will happen if you return? They'll arrest you. They might execute you, I know." We stepped closer to him. "But I was a Dominion diplomat for 40 years. I have friends, colleagues, people who trusted me. If I can reach even some of them, if I can make them listen, it could make a difference." Marcus looked at her with an expression she had never seen before. There was pain in his eyes, but also pride. He reached out and took her hands in his. "I want to tell you something," he said. "These past months, working with you, getting to know you, you've become important to me. More important than I expected." Kira felt her heart's beating faster. "Marcus, I'm not asking you to stay," he continued. "I understand why you need to go. But I want you to know that whatever happens, you changed things. You showed us that even someone raised on lies can choose truth. That matters. You matter." Tears streamed down Kira's face. "I don't want to say goodbye." "Then don't." Marcus smiled through his own tears. "Say until we meet again, because I believe we will." They held each other in silence as stars drifted past the observation window. Then Kira pulled away and Marcus let her go. The broadcast began the next day. Across the galaxy, billions of beings stopped what they were doing as an unexpected signal reached their communication devices. They saw the evidence. They heard recordings of Dominion leaders discussing their crimes. They watched historians explain the truth about exiled species. And they saw Elena Vasquez, human representative of the Hidden Council, speaking directly to the galaxy for the first time in 3,000 years. "My name is Elena Vasquez. I am human. 3,000 years ago, my species was exiled to the edges of space and erased from history. The Dominion told you we were monsters, but we were just a young civilization that asked too many questions." The broadcast continued, showing the thriving worlds of the Quarantine Rim, the cooperation between species, the technology developed through sharing and trust. We did not become the monsters they feared. We became something better, and we are not alone. 47 species that the Dominion threw away came together to build a new kind of society. One based on equality, on mutual aid, on the belief that every being deserves a chance. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate. Protests erupted on Dominion worlds. Citizens demanded answers from their leaders. Military officers questioned their orders. The perfect machine of Dominion control began to crack. The Purge fleet continued toward the Quarantine Rim, but something was different now. In the command ship, Admiral the Shah Morant watched the broadcast with troubled eyes. She had served the Dominion for 60 years. She had believed in their mission. But now, for the first time, she wondered if everything she believed was wrong. The fleet reached the edge of the Quarantine Rim, too. 100 warships faced the defended border of the Hidden Council's space. Admiral Morant gave an order that shocked her crew. "Open a communication channel. I want to talk to them." The communication request from Admiral the Shah Morant sent shockwaves through the Hidden Council. For hours, they debated whether it was a trick, a trap designed to lower their defenses before the attack. But Elena Vasquez reminded them of the principles they had built their society upon. "We chose trust over suspicion," she said. "We chose hope over fear. If we abandon those principles now, we become no better than those who exiled us." The council agreed to answer the Admiral's call. Marcus stood in the communication center as the connection was established. On the screen appeared a Velthari woman with silver scales and ancient, tired eyes. Admiral Morant had commanded fleets for 60 years. She had enforced Dominion law across 1,000 worlds. But now she looked like someone whose entire world had collapsed. I watched your broadcast, Admiral Morant said. I've spent 3 days reviewing the evidence. I had my analysts check for forgery, for manipulation, for any sign that it was false. And Marcus saw something he never expected to see in a Dominion admiral's eyes. Shame. It's real, she continued. Everything is real. The crimes, the lies, the murders. I've served the Dominion my entire life. I believed I was protecting the galaxy. Instead, I was helping monsters maintain power. Alina joined Marcus at the screen. Admiral, why are you contacting us? Because I cannot follow my orders. Morant's voice cracked with emotion. I cannot destroy innocent civilizations to protect lies. And I am not alone. Half my captains have refused to participate in the attack. The fleet is divided. This was beyond anything the Council had hoped for. The Purge fleet, sent to destroy them, was tearing itself apart. What do you want from us? Alina asked. Permission to defect, Admiral Morant said. For myself and every captain who refuses to fire on civilians, we want to join you. We want to help fix what we helped break. The Council debated for only 1 hour before reaching a decision. Admiral Morant and her loyal captains were granted safe passage to Council space. 112 warships crossed the line from Conqueror to Ally. Their weapons powered down, their intentions peaceful. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the transformation continued. Kira had returned to Dominion space 3 weeks earlier, expecting to be arrested. Instead, she found chaos. The broadcast had shattered public faith in the government. Protests filled the streets of major worlds. Politicians who had built careers on Dominion loyalty suddenly claimed they had been deceived. Kira became the voice of change. She appeared on broadcasts across Dominion space, telling her story. She described her crash in the Quarantine Rim, her rescue by humans, and the beautiful society she discovered among the forgotten. Species. I was taught that humanity was violent and dangerous, she said in one interview, watched by billions. Instead, I found people who responded to exile with kindness, who built alliances instead of empires, who chose healing over revenge. Her words reached hearts that had never questioned Dominion truth. Slowly, then rapidly, the tide turned. The Dominion High Council collapsed within 2 months. Reformist leaders seized power on world after world, promising investigation into historical crimes and fundamental changes to galactic governance. The military fractured between loyalists and those who believed the old ways must end. It was not a perfect revolution. Some worlds resisted change. Some leaders tried to hold on to power. Violence erupted in scattered places across the galaxy. But the overwhelming response was not war. It was a desperate hunger for truth and reconciliation. 6 months after the broadcast, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the first time since the Dominion's founding. They met on neutral ground, a space station constructed jointly by Council engineers and Reformed Dominion technicians. Elena Vasquez addressed the assembly. 10,000 years ago, the Dominion was founded on a principle. Some species were worthy of civilization, and others were not. The worthy would rule, and the unworthy would be forgotten. She looked across the chamber at beings from hundreds of worlds. Some had been Dominion members for millennia. Others were exiled species seeing former enemies for the first time. The Hidden Council was built on a different principle. Everyone deserves a chance. Everyone has something to contribute. The strong should lift up the weak, not crush them. Diversity is strength, not weakness. She gestured to the humans, crystalline singers, thorn-born, and dozens of other species standing behind her. You forgot us. You exiled us. You tried to erase us from history. And we built a home for everyone the galaxy abandoned. We did not build it seeking revenge. We built it seeking hope. And now the door's open. Her voice rang across the silent chamber. Come home. The vote to dissolve the Dominion and establish a new galactic union passed by overwhelming majority. The Hidden Council's principles became the foundation of a new government. Every species would have equal representation. Every world would have protection. The strong would support the weak, and diversity would be celebrated rather than feared. Kira returned to Council Space as the new Union's first ambassador of reconciliation. When her ship landed at New Geneva, Marcus was waiting for her. They stood looking at each other for a long moment. Then Kira ran forward, and Marcus caught her in his arms. "I told you we'd meet again," he said, holding her close. "You believe that even when everything seemed hopeless?" Kira replied. "That's what I love about humans. You never stop hoping." Marcus pulled back to look at her face. "Is that the only thing you love about humans?" Kira smiled, the first genuine smile she had allowed herself in months. "There might be one specific human I love more than the general concept." 1 year later, the new Galactic Union celebrated its first anniversary. The ceremony was held in the same chamber where the transformation had begun. Alina Vasquez, now serving as a Union Council member, gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. 3,000 years ago, my ancestors were thrown into darkness. They were told they were worthless, dangerous, forgotten, but they carried light with them into that darkness. They kept hope alive when despair would have been easier. They chose love when hatred was justified. She looked at the diverse assembly, at former enemies now working together, at children of a dozen species playing together in the gallery, as the Dominion tried to erase us from history. Instead, we became its authors. We wrote a new chapter, one that includes everyone the old story left behind. The ceremony ended with the unveiling of a monument. It stood in the center of New Geneva, visible from everywhere in the city. It depicted beings of every species standing together, their arms raised toward the stars. The inscription at its base was simple. They tried to bury us. They did not know we were seeds. In the years that followed, the Galactic Union faced challenges. Old prejudices did not disappear overnight. Trust was rebuilt slowly and painfully. But the foundation held, because it was built on the strongest material in the universe. Hope, Marcus and Kira watched their children play with friends of a dozen different species. The galaxy was still healing, still growing, still learning. But it was also united in a way it had never been before. "Do you think we actually changed history?" Kira asked one evening. Marcus took her hand. "I think history is just the story of choices. And we chose to believe that the galaxy could be better. We chose to build instead of destroy. We chose to forgive instead of hate." He looked up at the stars stretching endlessly above them. "And now everyone knows that no matter how far you fall, you can always choose to rise again."